Innovation to save mothers.
This will encourage mothers from the fetus village.
Police Minister says 2019 focus on command and control. And fun and games for Boxing Day.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. It is Boxing Day. Thank you for joining us for the news. Today is Wednesday. The governments of Papua New Guinea, the People's Republic of China and Australia have extended the pilot cooperation on malaria control project to December 2019. The three countries have agreed with a funding of about 3 million kina to support the fight against the disease, especially of malaria. Senior government officials signed documents in Port Moresby to renew the current trilateral cooperation agreement. The project uses a partnership-based approach involving joint decision-making, co-design of activities, shared resource contribution and mutual accountability. The malaria pilot cooperation will end on December the 31st, 2019. A health centre in Southern Highlands Province has developed a concept promoting safer antenatal and family planning practices for people in the Kutubu area. Known as the Maternity Waiting Village, a dormitory was built to encourage expecting mothers and their husbands to be accommodated near the health centre whilst awaiting the birth of their children.
It just passes by, they never grasp.
Located 3 hours south of Mendi, the Pimaga Health Center in the Nipa Kutubu district provides maternal and reproductive health services for at least 4,000 people from the 4 different LLGs. Dr. Michael Puma manages the health center. He developed the Maternity Waiting Village concept to encourage mothers to deliver their babies at the center.
Most of our Kutubu villages are scattered in the rural villages or settings, and given looking at the geographical setting of this place, we don't have a reliable transport system. Mothers sometimes make their attempt to come to facility for a supervised delivery, but they have birth before arrival on the way, and faced with maternal complications. We lost some mothers. And when we're seeing those challenges, we have come up with this idea of, constructing the maternal waiting village so that this will encourage mothers from the fetus village to come closer to the facility, stay around until their day of delivery. Nurses will be around to supervise deliveries.
The waiting village concept was designed to suit a Southern Highlands setting. The sleeping area, kitchen and meeting places are on one end, and the laundry and toilet facilities on the other. While living at the waiting village, midwives and nurses use the opportunity to speak to both expecting mothers and the fathers on family planning methods and reproductive health awarenesses.
When we have this maternal waiting village, we are inviting both mother and father to come to that village. They can stay together. And we have a 10-bedroom also. At any one time, we expect to have 10 family in the waiting village for delivery, waiting for delivery. And that will be a great opportunity for us to also do other health promotions like, gender equality, violence against women. That will be also a great opportunity for us to, teach the couples on benefits of breastfeeding, benefits of, immunization and the family planning, bed spacing, and other public health concerns like tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, many of those health problems, public health problems that our country is facing.
This concept is the first of its kind in Southern Highlands and was built with funding support from Oil Search Limited. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Command and control is a theme for policemen and policewomen in the country. Police Minister Jelta Wong says all officers must adhere to police protocol and follow command. The Police Minister described 2018 as a tough year for police, but says police must work smart in 2019 and serve with dignity.
Speaking during the recent Commissioners' Conference in Port Moresby, the Police Minister spoke highly of police conduct during operations. Minister Wong said officers do not head higher to command, thus many reports of abuse and assault devalue the force's reputation. He says 2019 will be different.
To make sure that the steps and the mistakes of 2018 do not happen again. I believe that for a strong structure, we must go back to the old ways of following the protocols that you have learned through your time as a policeman.
Policing has been tough for members of the force. With proper conduct backed by the police minister recently, Minister Wong wants a new beginning for the force in 2019. He says 2019 will be different as the top hierarchy will be tightening police discipline. Minister Wong said police must refrain from poor public conduct.
I've seen it happen, and I'm starting to see some of the things that are happening in our police force, and I'm ashamed that some of these things are happening. And I think that with this crew now, we're going into 2019, we should be able to get things back onto the level.
For the police minister, he wants a whole new approach for policemen and women around the country. He says in-house issues is for the top management to address. The former police officer says command and control will be implemented in 2019.
I know we have challenges, so I'm working hard with the department and our hierarchy to overcome them. We are working with our partners from other jurisdictions such as Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Indonesia, Japan, and the United Kingdom to modernize the constabulary to make our policing more efficient.
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Defence Force says the political commitment made to pay PNGDF members an additional 300 kina per day for APEC security allowances must be allowed to take its course. PNGDF Chief of Staff Captain Philip Polewara said this today following concerns on outstanding APEC allowances raised by PNGDF members in Port Moresby.
The question on whether an additional 300 kina per day will be paid to all members of the Joint Security Task Force remains a government commitment for now. But the uncertainty raised by PNGDF members has been put forward to the PNGDF Chief of Force Preparations and the Secretary for Defense to take up at the political level.
For defense, our financial system has shut down for the year as of the 14th December at midnight. The Chief of Defense Force and the Secretary for Defense Force are fully aware of our concerns and are in touch with Waigani on the progress. Any new developments in regard to this matter will be relayed through the Chief of Staff to the unit commanding officers and to the unit.
Initially, the amount agreed upon for APEC allowances by Commander of JSTF Gary Baki was 200 kina per day for the 18 days of providing security during the APEC Economic Week. In total, each member is supposed to have received 9,000 kina each. For PNGDF, about 80% have received that allowance. Now the 300 kina per day allowance comes from another commitment made at the political level. Under this agreement, each JSTF member will be paid 500 kina per day instead of the 200 kina per day allowance which was approved by JSTF.
What our leaders had made a commitment to was a rate of 500 kina, as you all may know by now. And that's the balance of that 300 kina owed to troops that still outstanding. But that's a commitment not made by JSTF, I must reiterate. It's a commitment that, as the Chief of Staff has mentioned, was made by our leaders. So when that is paid, I think we have to allow the process to be followed through.
Following concerns about these allowances, Commanding Officer of the 1st Royal Pacific Islands Regiment, the PNGDF unit that was heavily involved in APEC security operations, has met with his members and discussed the different agreements on the allowances.
As a result of the meeting, the men and women now in the 1st Battalion are fully aware of the situation at hand. and they appreciate the fact that it is above and beyond headquarters in the Defense Force, and really something that our leaders as politicians will have to come down and make a decision on it. So that was the whole reason why I convened that meeting yesterday, just myself and my troops.
Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News on this Boxing Day. We'll be back with more after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Pari Village, located south of Port Moresby, today celebrated Boxing Day with fun and games hosted by United Church groups. Families and friends gathered in the main village where they took part in various fun games and mini sporting events. Suli with the details.
This is an annual event in Pari Village where families and friends gather to celebrate Christmas. The program began on the 24th of December and will continue right throughout to New Year. The day was fun-filled with entertainment as people gathered in 3 different groups, LLV, Mimi and Boboro, to celebrate. Retired Reverend Pastor Puka Tom says for this year's event, the groups presented dances, prophetic songs, as well as hosting fun games.
Every 25th of December in our village, Pari, we celebrate by singing Parvata songs and dancing all throughout the day. The following day, that is 26th of December, that is Boxing Day, we continue our celebration by having sports activities in the village.
More than 17,000 kino was budgeted for this year's festive season. Pastor Tom says the money has been used to host Christmas programs in the village.
Our Christmas celebration for this year, the estimated budget is about 18,000. That's excluding the expenses that every individual person like cooking food and all those things.
He says this celebration hosted is part of keeping youths engaged and to minimize social problems in the village.
In this Christmas celebration, I've come to realize that, having some kind of activities or celebrations like this in the village, it helps the young people to commit themselves to the celebrations rather than, not doing anything and then they engage themselves into some other social problems.
Whilst the celebrations are on, Pari Village has set up its Christmas operations such as curfews. For this year's event, it was hosted by the LLV group. In 2019, it will be hosted by Mimi. Suli, National EMTV News.
Timely Christmas presents for 7 LLG wards in New Ireland with the launching of 7 sets of walkabout sawmills from the New Ireland Provincial Government. These sawmills are to help the current community housing project a step closer to reality. Governor Sir Julius Chan, under the One Roof Overheads policy, says housing is essential to better living and contributing to the economy. The 7 council wards in both Keving and Maternity districts will be allocated a set of sawmills. The sawmill launch is the second after the first launching for 15 sets in April at Lambom for the Conwagil area earlier this year. The National AIDS Council, in partnership with Anglicare, hosted a HIV awareness program today at the ATS community in Port Moresby. The awareness program saw many members of the community turning up to get blood tests to know the HIV status. Michelle Awamoromoro with more details.
It is a day after Christmas, and while most people are still in celebration mood, the people of ATS community lined up to check their HIV status. This HIV awareness program was offered by the National AIDS Council and Anglicare. Free blood tests and counseling were offered, and brochures and condoms were also distributed. Many people who turned up to check their HIV status were young people who were brought together by a volleyball tournament sponsored by the National AIDS Council. The festive season was chosen to host this program because it is when people come together for celebrations and it is easy to reach them.
This is because we're having it during the Christmas period because it's a peak period, and when everybody is on holidays, and there will be a good time for everyone to come forward to have their HIV testing and awareness carried out.
According to one community leader, Walter Giza, it was the first of its kind for NAC to conduct free testing and counseling within the ATS community.
Law 2002, this is the first time that AIDS counselors only kissing this initiative lo kissing kamin sa lo community lo mipla lo running. So as a chairman, me amo mas no gustret.
A resident thanked NAC for this initiative, and she urged the community members and the general public to get tested and know their HIV status.
Because people feel ashamed to go. So when the service is brought right down to the community, they feel that it's very important and everybody should go for HIV test so they can know their status.
National AIDS Council plans to host awareness programs, free testing and counseling to hotspot areas, but that will depend on their funding. However, the awareness program today was a success and it will continue tomorrow. Michelle Awamoromoro, National EMTV News.
With the new year just around the corner, the government minister has urged relevant agencies to ensure that processes surrounding the identification of landowners are completed as soon as possible. Finance Minister James Marape said as member for Tari Pori, he will be assisting where he can to ensure that the long overdue clan vetting exercise for the PNG LNG project is completed early in 2019. The Department of Petroleum has been tasked to fast-track the completion of the long overdue clan vetting exercise for upstream landowners of the PNG LNG project. Member for Tari Pori, James Marape, who is in his electorate, has given his assurance that as member responsible, he will be assisting where he can.
I've asked Department of Petroleum and the clan vetting team to come back and conclude the process that they've started before. So in the balance of December, I'll be visiting Heights area, Como, Angora area, as well as other parts of the LNG project area in Hela province, and prepare for Department of Petroleum and the team to come in the new year. Their funds are sitting in central bank account as we speak. Over 200 million kina is sitting there for the upstream landowners, and they need to assist DP to bring the clan vetting exercise to conclusion.
Speaking in Port Moresby recently, Marape said the landowner identification process had dragged on for too long due to a number of factors, including internal landowner disputes. However, the government had now directed that this exercise be completed immediately as a matter of urgency to allow for royalty payments to be paid out.
The clan vetting exercise has been outstanding for so long. I will make it my business that in the balance of this year, I'm up there in the electorate, and then in the new year, DP and the state team must come up there and to conclude the clan vetting process. A fair, transparent process must take place, and then we start to distribute the benefit in first quarter of 2019.
With much talk surrounding the delay in royalty payments from the PNG LNG project, particularly for upstream landowners, Marape has encouraged all landowners to work together during this period to assist in completing the clan vetting process so that benefits can be paid to landowners within the first quarter of 2019.
The landowner benefits for those at the plant side are now continuing to be distributed to them. And so it's unfair on the benefits for upstream to be kept, and it's held back simply because we have not brought to conclusion the clan vetting exercise, and many factors. Government has delayed the process, and landowners themselves took up many court injunctions, and all those conflicting interests have really stalled the way clan vetting exercises progress. But I'm appealing to all landowners. You have some issues, discuss amongst yourselves here. Come back to the electorate. Once DP comes up there, there'll be a transparent process. Present your case. Let's look at a list that we have at DP and affirm that these are the clans that are beneficiary, and then let's get the benefits out by first quarter of next year.
President of the Farmers and Settlers Association has expressed concern over the government's lack of commitment to appointing vacancies in various agriculture and livestock commodity boards. In a statement, Mr. Wilson Thompson said policies are impractical because commodity board legislations require appointment of board members and chief executive officers. He said the whole agriculture sector is affected and has no permanent appointments made in the last 2 years. The Farmers and Settlers Association said the government has done the right thing by putting focus on agriculture, but it needs to get the systems and processes in place to implement government objectives. You're with National EMTV News on this Boxing Day. Stories making headlines overseas. When we come back, stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, the Christmas message of peace on earth and goodwill to all is needed as much as ever. The royal family gathered for the traditional Christmas Day service with hundreds of well-wishers there to see them.
Morning service at the church on the Sandringham estate. And the Queen without the Duke of Edinburgh this year. Officials say he's in perfectly good health but is taking things quietly. Much attention inevitably on the family's newcomer, the Duchess of Sussex, and close attention on the interchanges between her and the Duchess of Cambridge. Newspapers have been suggesting that Meghan and Kate haven't been getting on. No sign of any tension on this Christmas morning. The Queen departed by car, the moment for the Duchesses to dip, or in the case of Meghan, to almost touch the ground. And then equerries and private secretaries became flower gatherers as the royals made their way to meet some of the people who'd been waiting to see them. It's the younger generation to the fore now, Harry and Meghan and Kate and William. And then, flower duties completed, it was back to Sandringham to settle down for lunch and the Queen's Christmas broadcast. The Queen recalled the centenary of the armistice which had ended the First World War, a conflict in which her father had served in the Royal Navy. And then to more recent family matters.
Closer to home, it has been a busy year for my family. With 2 weddings and 2 babies and another child expected soon. It helps to keep a grandmother well occupied.
And then a sentence about the unifying power of the Commonwealth. These are the words which are being seen as an oblique piece of advice to the opposing sides in the Brexit debate.
Even with the most deeply held differences, treating the other person with respect and as a fellow human being is always a good first step towards greater understanding.
She finished with a reference to the story of Christ.
I believe his message of peace on earth and goodwill to all is never out of date. It can be heeded by everyone. It's needed as much as ever.
So nothing explicit, no direct reference to Brexit in the broadcast, but the palace is clearly hoping that the Queen's carefully chosen words about goodwill and respect will be heeded by everyone caught up in the Brexit debate.
Donald Trump tweeted only twice on Christmas Day, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. But his mood at the White House hasn't been exactly festive, as he has riled on about funding for his border wall, Democrats, and the man he fired, FBI Chief James Comey.
And President Trump started his day here at the White House on Christmas Day, speaking to troops stationed all over the world. But he ended that session with 10 minutes of a wide-ranging question and answer session with reporters filled with grievances and attacks on Democrats, blaming them for the partial government shutdown that's caused him to be here in the White House and not in Florida for Christmas Day. President Trump talked at length about his border wall, saying he was willing to keep the government closed until he's able to get money for a border wall or for fencing. He also blamed Democrats for failing to support a border wall, even though he claims they've supported it in the past. He likened it to how, after he fired James Comey, Democrats suddenly wanted to defend James Comey, who they had in the past criticized for his handling of the 2016 election. Now, President Trump's mood at the White House on Christmas Day is just part of what he's been demonstrating publicly on social media for the last several days. He's been tweeting extensively about this border wall, criticizing his enemies and airing grievances this holiday week. But he ended his session in the Oval Office by saying this: "It's a disgrace what's happening in the country," but he wished everyone a Merry Christmas.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection officials say they are putting new policies in place following the death of a second migrant child in the U.S. this month. They will now carry out secondary medical checks on all children, focusing especially on children younger than 10.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection is saying that an 8-year-old little boy, a Guatemalan national who had been apprehended in New Mexico with his father, has died while in their custody. At this point, they do not have an official cause of death. According to the timeline released by the CBP, it was the morning of Christmas Eve, and a Border Protection agent noticed that the child appeared to be sick. The little boy and his father were transferred to the Gerald Champion Regional Medical Center in Alamogordo. Initially diagnosed with a common cold, that all changed, according to officials, when they discovered the boy had a fever. He was released from the hospital mid-afternoon with prescriptions for antibiotics and ibuprofen, but it was hours later, Christmas Eve night, that he began to vomit. He was transferred back to the hospital, and he died shortly after midnight on Christmas. Now, compare that with a 7-year-old Guatemalan girl and her father. They were apprehended by the Border Patrol crossing into New Mexico the beginning of December. Jacqueline Calmaquin also began vomiting. Her health deteriorated, and despite medical attention, she died 2 days later. Her body was just returned to Guatemala, but now the Border Patrol's Office of Professional Responsibility will conduct a review of this most recent death to determine the official cause.
It's been over a year since hemp food products were legalized in Australia, and since then, hemp oils, seeds and protein powders have hit supermarket shelves. Industry leaders in Queensland say the domestic market is steadily growing, but needs more public education about hemp.
Hemp plants on a farm in the Somerset region are part of a growing Queensland industry. Changes to national food legislation in November last year has opened the door for farmers to grow the protein-rich plant for food.
We've seen a shift in demand for human consumption products as well as cosmeceutical products.
The plant is derived from the same species as cannabis but has no psychoactive properties. Previously, industrial hemp could only be grown for use in products like clothing and building materials, but its legalisation in food means Australia can crack into the multi-million-dollar global market.
The demand for industrial hemp in Australia is great. There's always a demand for it because there's hardly any supply.
The changes have also given way to new Queensland products hitting the market, like cold-pressed hemp milk. But the industry is working to overcome several challenges, including public education and a lack of consumer research.
In the next 12 months, we hope to see customer purchasing behaviours, data trends, key trends that people can use to bring out products that people are asking for.
Without conducting independent and robust research, it's very difficult to articulate your value proposition.
Currently, there's 21 commercial hemp growers in Queensland, with 8 of those licensees coming on board since the legalisation of hemp food.
For the past 2 years, Guard Dogs Western Australia has been quietly working on and perfecting the state's only autism assistance training dog program.
This is the result of 10 months training.
That's the end of the story.
And this is where it all begins.
Good boy.
Harley is a Guide Dogs WA trainee, not for the visually impaired, but for children with autism.
They've got to have quite low distractions so they're able to focus, but they tend to be a bit more lower motivated, a bit more easygoing, and of course they've got to be really relaxed around children.
The dog's main priority, providing safety, especially for children who have a tendency to run.
So the dogs are connected to the child with a hookup, and if the child bolts or runs away, our dogs are trained to sit or laying her down and anchor to prevent the child from running away.
Out in public, Blake is a big flight risk.
And I suppose the other main thing was the school run, getting him in and out of school.
Last November, the Mackenzies got Poppy, the black Labrador, now an anchor, and much more for their 9-year-old son, Blake.
He is stopping and actually saying a whole sentence, which is amazing. We have a nice, calm, safer walk across the car park to the school grounds and into the classroom.
Blake and Poppy's relationship, one of both utility and affection, no doubt the first of many to be immortalised on Guide Dog's new Autism Assistance Wall of Fame.
You're watching National EMTV News. We go for a break. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. International boxing coach and referee Brad Vokal says PNG Professional Boxing Federation has plans to host more international bouts in the near future. He says while PNG has got some amazing talent, showing them the direction forward is what he intends to do. He says there are already plans in place to bring over Jeff Horn to PNG sometime next year.
International boxing referee and coach Brad Vokali says while PNG continues to create fighters that are of world standards, what's lacking are their skills to meet world standards and a direction or pathway to achieving their dreams.
Lack of direction that the PNG fighter has. He trains every day, he works, he sweats and he works very, very hard, but he's not going anywhere. He's staying at the same pace and staying at the same level. We need to get this mentality to get the PNG fighter. They have the skill, definitely have the skill. We just need to create the pathway for these guys to be able to get them into a position where they can fight, win good fights, and then from there they can go upwards.
Vokali has been visiting PNG for almost a decade, training and coaching some of PNG's top professional fighters. Speaking to EMTV Sports, he says PNG should be aiming to perform regionally first before reaching the Commonwealth and Olympic level to fighting big names in boxing.
My goal at this particular time is to have this particular regional organisation which we've created, not just, it's created specifically here for PNG, Solomon Islands, New Zealand, Indonesia, West Papua, all of these regions, the Oceania region. I'm passionate about this. It's something that I want to do for your people. Your people are good enough to do it. Your fighters are good enough to do it. They just have never had the direction in order to do this.
With PNG having a rich boxing history in the likes of legend Martin Benny and others, Brad believes the country has what it takes to be back on the global stage in pro boxing.
I'm in negotiations with Jeff Horn at the moment, his management team, with Jake, Martin and Ben Micah, Elvin Wafua. We are perhaps at this stage, I cannot give you a date and I cannot confirm, but I have refereed Jeff Horn many times, and my goal is to bring him here maybe in our next event, maybe February or March this year.
Already there are discussions for PNG to host more international bouts. As part of these negotiations, talks are underway to bring world champion Jeff Horn to PNG to help inspire PNG's best fighters. Godwin Aki, National EMTV Sports.
Since last Saturday, the ATS community at 8 Mile have been competing in its festive celebration with mixed volleyball. 16 teams are participating in the National AIDS Council organised sporting event. The main aim is to promote gender equality in the community and make awareness through sport.
While every other big sporting events are on break, ATS community is hosting a mixed volleyball to promote gender equity. This is an initiative by the National AIDS Council. The National AIDS Council sponsored volleyball tournament also brought together youths and elders of the community to get HIV tested.
So the theme of this Christmas game is to encourage people to see HIV as a cross-cutting issue, issues also with gender-based violence, and STI, TB, literacy with all these issues, but HIV is a cross-cutting.
Boundos says hopefully they will continue sports in other areas of the city to encourage people, especially youths, to get tested. Meanwhile, community leader Walter Giza said there is a lot of talent in the community and hopes people responsible in selecting youths for competitions must not ignore them.
So, our best players sample time. And more grade 8 failures or grade 10 failures. Almost look na. Even our sport ministers too, or those who are responsible for sports, almost look come down all simple people to get the best players to represent our country.
The games and awareness will end this Friday. Podivai, National EMTV Sports.
Don't go anywhere, we'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To some sporting action overseas now, and in cricket, India's batsmen were in control on the opening day of the third test against Australia at the Melbourne Cricket Grounds. The tourists won the toss and elected to bat midway through the final session. At the end of play, India was 2 for 174. Here are some of the highlights.
Whoa, catch it was a call. It evades Mitch Marsh in the gully.
Gee, that is a glorious shot from Agarwal. Boxing Day morning on debut.
It was a bit too full to duck. Wasn't that short. It's a good, well-directed effort ball from Paddy Cummins.
Oh, that's a nasty delivery, but is there but on it? There is! That is the first wicket! And it's Aaron Finch that takes the catch.
Goes hard and thoughtful down the ground. That'll be 50 on debut. Mayank Agarwal, well played.
Yeah, it's good innings and tremendous shot to bring up the 50.
Oh, for butt off the edge. Farouk Engineer. Oh. No, they've taken a glove.
Given. Yes. Ian Gould gives him out. Agarwal has to go. Will he review? I don't think he will.
Always positive. It's the bowling change. Hazelwood from the members' end. Full, and it's through that mid-on region again.
As Australia and India went head-to-head at the MCG today for the Boxing Day test, there was one special fan with her ear close to the radio, listening to the cricket coverage.
Meet Portia the pig. She loves eating grass, minced tarts at Christmas, and snoozing to the sound of cricket on the radio.
Well, it started when she was a young piglet, and I would go off and work on the farm during the day, and the shed radio was on, and I'd come back at lunchtime to find Portia snoozing under the shed radio, listening to cricket.
Portia lives on Anne Davies' farm near Scone in rural New South Wales. She hasn't missed a summer of cricket in 12 years.
Yes, a lovely summer day of cricket. She's been known to recognise certain laughters of different commentators and chortle, but I do think she loves that lovely, kind, friendly commentator voice from a cricket commentator.
This is a wonderful chance to say hello to Portia the pig in Scone, who's a big fan of grandstand cricket, listening all the time, every summer.
And Portia is particular about the radio she likes.
I know that she finds rugby far too frenetic and exciting, so you won't find her listening to the rugby, unfortunately, in the shed. Just something soothing.
Portia started life as a feral pig before being rescued by Mrs. Davies and becoming part of her menagerie.
I think she has no idea that she's even a pig. I think she probably thinks she's a hairy chook with an extra pair of legs.
Portia has her own website, and Anne Davies has written 4 children's books about her life of leisure and love of cricket.
To yacht racing, and the Sydney to Hobart fleet were making their way down the New South Wales coast after a thrilling start to the race earlier today.
It's been an enthralling start to this year's Sydney to Hobart race. Blackjack was the first of the Super Maxis to get out of the heads, followed by Wild Oats 11, Scallywag and Infotrack. Comanche lagged slightly behind, but is expected to fly down the south coast this afternoon as conditions pick up. Comanche is the favourite to win Lion Honours this year, and in terms of the overall handicap winner, the favourite is Ichiban, one of the TP52s. Last year, they're hoping to go back-to-back. They took out the overall handicap last year, but that hasn't been done since 1964. The smallest yacht of the fleet, Gunrunner, has also started the race, as well as Wild Oats 10. They got off to a good start. Wild Oats 10 is the first all-female professional crew to partake in the race, and they had a special guest on board, the former Foreign Minister Julie Bishop. She jumped off the boat just outside of Bondi Beach, and she's trying to raise awareness for ocean sustainability and to stop people using plastics. There's been blue skies and light winds for the start of this year's race, but the pace is expected to pick up with winds forecast up to 25 knots as the fleet heads down the south coast and into the Bass Strait.
And that ends True Kai Sports for this evening. Stay tuned for the weather details for the next 24 hours.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Mostly fine for Alotau. A few showers expected in Popondetta. Cloudy periods and showers expected in Port Moresby, Daru, as well as in Kerema. To the Momasa region, mostly fine in Lae, Wau and Madang. A shower or two expected in Wibak and Vanimore. To the New Guinea Islands region, some showers expected in Lorengau, a shower or two expected in the other major centres, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, cloudy weather and some showers expected in Mount Hagen, showers expected in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. All the major centres can expect some early morning fog developing as well.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Boxing Day, the 26th of December 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.